Hello, 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 everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. Good night, everyone. Listen, it is a new year 2023, and you are watching the first episode of Poetry and Perspective with Placide. So, welcome, everyone, to Poetry and Perspective with Placide. I am your kind hostess, Cindy Placide. Listen, guys, last year we had so many things going on, some of us lost people, some of us gave birth, some people lost jobs, some gained new jobs, some people they were they opened businesses, some lost the life savings, so many things went on this year. And one of the things that I have gathered from all of this is that we should be truly thankful for just the little blessings, for being here today and to be able to breathe every single day, because not everybody has the opportunity to do that. Okay. And some of us are struggling with so many different ailments. But before let me tell you, we have a wonderful show for you tonight. I always deliver, okay? But we have a wonderful show for you tonight. I'm telling you, this show you are gonna be blown away. So let me tell you this. Call somebody. We are talking about mental illness today. If you know anybody who suffers with mental illness, depression, anxieties, any form of mental illness, or you just want to know about it, call somebody up. Let them know, okay? Cindy Placide is on Poetry and Perspective with Placide, and we are going to give you so much information. We are going to blow you away. And I have some amazing guests for you today, guys. Listen, I telling you all, call somebody, let somebody know, pick up the phone. I'm giving you like about 60 seconds to call somebody and let them know that the show is going on, okay? I'm telling you, you are not going to be disappointed. But as usual, first of all, let me get on my phone so that I could get everybody to see what I am doing here tonight. Okay, so let me see if I'm live. I think I'm live, people. Yes, I am. Oh my gosh. Let me see myself. I love this. Oh my gosh, what is going on here? Okay. Uh-huh. So people, I can't even see myself now. And then I'm going to introduce myself to you all. Listen, here I am. Okay, let me see. Let me turn my volume down so we won't have any problems. So that I am going to give you guys a chance for you to comment on the live. What on earth is going on? Edit privacy. Okay. There we go. I'm saying everything so y'all know what I'm doing. I'm not lying to you guys. Okay, so there we go. Yes. So we are on. Yes. Let me say good night to my friends. Good night, Tyrone, Jiggy Max. How are you doing? This is one of my past guests, Katrina, Jacqueline, Melissa, Shwana, and 4 others who are watching. Good night, everybody. Welcome to Poetry and Perspective with Placide. But as usual, I am going to give a big shout out because you know what? If any case y'all didn't know, I am from the beautiful Caribbean island of St. Lucia. I am an island girl. So I'm going to say big up to St. Lucian Massive. Good night, everybody. How you doing? All my past guests. I'm telling you, this show wouldn't have been anything that it is tonight without my past guests. So good night, everyone. Thank you so much for being on there. Thank you so much for gracing Poetry and Perspective with your presence. Now, this past year has brought so many people so much pain, and the years pass, and so many years, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to go through a lot for the years to come. Okay, so but let me tell you this: as I always say, I am an advocate for 3 different things right now. I may take on some more. So first of all, I am a mother of 4 amazing children, 1 deceased. My first son Kyle, and my daughter-in-law Aaliyah. And my son Noah, who is 13 years old, is going to be 14 this year, and he is diagnosed with autism. So I advocate for autism. I also have my daughter, Isabel, who passed away at the age of 2 months old. And so I advocate, she had a rare form of dwarfism called thanatophoric dysplasia. And so I advocate for dwarfism and thanatophoric dysplasia. I also advocate for for mental illness, which we're going to talk about today, because of my own struggles with mental illness after I lost my daughter and so many other family members. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in the show, but I am sure everybody else knows. A lot of people who have been watching my show knows about it. Okay. So guys, listen. I am an author, poet, and like I said, an advocate, and I'm an entrepreneur. So I am, like I said, everybody, I am a jackie of all trades, but I think I'm mastering one right now. So let's get going. So let me show you my two books. Let me see if I can get the slides. My first book is called When Life Stood in Silence, and that book was born from grief from the loss of my daughter. And like I said, I was just in I put all my emotions, all my hardest feelings that I could not explain and I could not say to anybody, I put it on there, okay, in that book. So it's a powerful book, but it has a little bit of everything: love, romance, aging gracefully, and so many other good tidbits in there. So that. Now, my second book is called A Mighty Calm. So it's an uprising from that grief, from that loss, and to find myself and to be able to go out there in the public. I am telling you, this past few months, when I first launched my show, I was at my lowest point, but I used that show and my books to help me help other people. And so that's what my goal is, to help other people and to bring to light the things that are people that are doing wonderful things in my country and in the Caribbean and everywhere around the world, in my home, which I call home right now, the United States of America, and to target people from everywhere to be able to hear their stories and to touch lives with our stories and our experiences, because everyone has a story to tell. So tonight we're going to have some amazing, amazing guests. Now, like I said, tonight we are really talking about mental illness tonight, okay? Mental health awareness, and it is going to be a new program, because what I'm going to do, I want every week for someone to talk about mental illness. Okay, so we are going to talk about mental illness, but tonight my first guest, and as I so promoted, her name is Shwana Thomas. Let me tell you, this lady is on fire. She is on fire. She is amazing, and she's also an advocate for mental illness. And I have 3 other surprises for you. You are going to be blown away. I'm telling you. So get people on this show, guys. Let them know we are having a powerful show. I'm opening this year with a bang. So without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about my little friend here named Shwana. Let me tell you, she's so pretty. Okay, so let me tell you this. Like I said, I'm always going to be myself. I'm goofy. I'm outgoing. I don't care. I will laugh at my own jokes. So you all know Cindy Placid already, but I'm always going to be looking beautiful and fly. Okay. So let me tell you about Shwana. Shwana is a mental health advocate. She's a life coach and a mentor, life coach created to help women and to give a voice to the voiceless. This is all I'm going to tell you about her. So please, without further ado, welcome my beautiful guest all the way from Chicago. And she's also a podcaster, Shwana Thomas.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. How about yourself?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me on your show, and I am honored to be on your first show. So Thank you very much. And like I said, let's save some lives and let's get started.
Yes. One of our things, we're going to get right to it because we have a lot to cover. One of the things I did mention to you when we first spoke to each other, I said, and I think, like you said, it was like, we were both together for a purpose. Okay. And I said, what good it is going to be if we start a new year trying to do so many things in our lives and our mental health is not intact. And so we decided to do that show. Listen to me. It was Now for Now, people. So, Shwana, am I saying your name right? Please don't tell me a butcher.
Shwana is my daughter. She will be speaking next, but she
Okay, Shwana, yes. Please excuse me. I am butchering people's name. I'm so excited. Shwana, okay? It is so different.
Don't worry about it, Cindy.
Okay,
when you laugh, you're gonna make me laugh. Every time you laugh, you make me laugh. You make me smile.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. She said, "I need to get those books." Yes, yes, Lauren. Yes, I'm gonna get you to. I'm gonna link up with you so we can get those books. Okay, so we have people. Lauren Darville is all the way in the UK. Okay, so we have people watching from all over. Okay, and yes. So who's Shanita Mitchell? Good night, sweetheart. How are you? I always like to
That's actually my cousin. Hello, beautiful. Hey.
hello. Okay. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, where you're from.
Okay, I was
Yes.
born and raised in the States in Chicago, Illinois, to Shirley Thomas and Matthew Thomas. One of the things is, hold on a second, it's saying my battery is low. Give me 1 second.
Second, yes.
Okay, hold on. You're going to keep working. You move around and
Yes.
put the battery over here.
Good
I work
night,
at,
everyone. Yes, go
yeah,
ahead.
I work at what they call, I guess, a baby jail. I work actually in a correctional setting for juveniles between the ages of 10 and 18 years old. I've been doing that now for 19 years. So I've saw just about everything in regards to mental health, mental health with kids, mental health with their parents, and mental health with their siblings connected to what they did. So right now I've saw it in from very different angles. So right now I thought that it was very important that I become an advocate because right now they need us. We need each other right now.
Yes,
So
we do.
19 years of seeing a kid not be diagnosed properly, or for him to be out there doing things, getting arrested, going through all these things, and him not knowing exactly what's going on with him. So
Wow.
yes, seeing people commit suicide and die, and you just see them one day as though they're okay, and then the next day they're not. So right now,
They're
I
not.
felt like it takes a village. Back in the day, it took a village. It took everybody hands on to help each other out. And I believe we
Yes.
should get back to that and do that again.
Yes, a lot of people are walking with smiles on their faces, and deep down inside, they have that war within them. They're fighting
Yes,
that battle that nobody sees, because mental illness is an invisible illness. We
yes, it
can
is.
see when somebody has a broken arm. We can see when somebody's eye is hurting or they have a scar on their face, but we cannot see mental illness. And let me tell you, it as dangerous, even more dangerous than having a broken arm or any other illness, because you cannot see it and you're thinking the person is okay, but they're not.
Yeah, they're not, and sometimes they don't know that they're not okay. Normally, when
Exactly.
I run into people with issues, I tell them it's okay not to be okay today, just
Yes.
today. But right now, talk to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Right now in the Black community, we go back and forth and say, well, you okay, just pray, just pray. You're absolutely right. Prayer plus therapy plus some
Mm-hmm.
other things, we use all of that together. I was
Yes.
embarrassed when I told people that I saw a psychiatrist or a therapist because they made fun of me. Oh, you crazy. And after a while, I shamed myself, like, I don't want to say it, or maybe I shouldn't go because I'm going to get talked about. But I
Mm-hmm.
realized it helped me more, that I was able to help others by actually going out and getting me some help so I can know what's wrong with me and what my triggers were. I was
Mm-hmm.
having panic attacks and didn't know what they was. I thought I was going crazy. When actuality, I was nervous. I let my nerves get the best of me and I couldn't breathe.
Okay, so let me ask you this. At what age and when did you realize that, yes, I really am suffering with mental illness?
What the age was, I was younger in college
Mm-hmm.
and I was shot. So
Mm-hmm.
I was robbed and they shot me twice. They shot me in my left arm and my right thigh.
Wow.
And years, and then I was with my family, and some family members was like, okay, get over it, you're okay. And later on in life, when I started working at a facility where I started to connect with people that did those type of things, I started to have triggers. I got
Mm-hmm.
hurt for the first time at work since my incident of that happening years ago, and that triggered me. I felt anxious, heart racing, and I didn't know what was going on. When I did go to the doctor, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome, which
Mm-hmm.
means I sometimes get nervous or anxious because of the fact of I may relive what happened to me, or I may have a trigger of something happening to someone else, and my body responded to it in a negative manner.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the doctor and really looking it up has helped me tremendously. So I know what a trigger is. I know sometimes I can't watch the news because in Chicago, we have a pandemic of violence in Chicago. So I may not watch the news at 10 o'clock at night. I may not watch the news at all. So I do certain things to help me. I may go in a room and pray. I may meditate. I try to be around positive people. I try to make sure that I'm okay always. If my mind starts to race, I may write it on paper. I write down 3 things I'm grateful for when I'm having bad days to let me remember that God allowed me to live and have redemption of what somebody tried to do to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I realized that considering somebody tried to kill me and shoot me twice, let me realize that God said, no, we have work to do. So you will be here to do it. So
Yeah.
my job now is to help others not feel the way I felt and not know what was going on with me.
Wow. Now I'm gonna put on the screen some of the types of mental illness. We have eating disorders, schizophrenia, anxiety, depression orders, bipolar mood swings, mood disorders, and personality disorders. And some of the things, these are some of the things that many people suffer with. But one of the things that has really gotten to me is this, right? One of the things that's really gotten to me is this. So, and people make that statement all the time. They say, well, I suffer with mental illness and I don't behave like this. I don't handle things that way. In your opinion, what do you think? First of all, have you had that experience? And what does that do to a person?
Right now, considering mine is different, like right now, we have guests later on that have other, with that spectrum you saw, mine would be anxiety disorder, where I could see something bad and it will upset me to the point where I may go into an anxiety attack or panic attack where I may not be able to breathe because I'm empathizing with that person so strongly. I'm taking it on as though it belongs to me. So
Mm-hmm.
that's anxiety where I can't breathe. My thoughts is racing. My heart is racing. I feel like I'm about to pass out. And sometimes people do. So for me, I realized sometime I'm not okay. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to recognize and admit that to ourselves that we're not okay today. And we have to stop, take a moment, take a breath, and find out what caused it. Why do I feel this way right now? I didn't feel this way yesterday. Sometimes,
Yes.
believe it or not, it's people that you come around and your spirit just turns on you. It's things, it smells, it's different things actually that can actually people with PTSD that can start their triggers to make them feel bad. And people think because you need a major trauma to have PTSD. No, you can have PTSD from a divorce. You can have PTSD from being cheated on. You can have PTSD. A lot of military veterans have PTSD undiagnosed, and then they do something because of the fact they feel like they have no other choice but to do it. So it's
Yeah.
different levels of PTSD. I have a friend that on the 4th of July, he has to go and he covers his ears until it's over because it makes him feel like he's still in a war. Because every time he hears a gunshot, he hits the floor hard as though he's protecting himself for his life. So
Wow.
you have different levels of it.
Wow. Wow. I know for me, I after I lost my daughter, I became a I didn't know I didn't know that I was traumatized from the time I was a little girl. And I don't hide this anymore on the show because I believe my story can help somebody, my experiences. I was raped at 8 years old, you know, and I was molested throughout and I never realized that there was stigma to with these things, and then you think maybe you it's not like you're accepting it, but you know you learn to cope with it in your own way. Okay. And so after I went through a lot of abuses, a lot of physical abuse, a lot of mental abuse, emotional, sexual abuse throughout my life. And it was only until after my daughter died, I was like about I would say like about 36 or 37 years old that when she died, a psychologist saw me and told me, "You're not looking okay." And then she questioned me and she referred me to somebody. When I saw a therapist, and it was then that I knew the depth of my trauma, how much the things that had happened to me had affected me to the point where after my daughter died, it's like almost everything came crashing down on me, And so we were talking in our therapy sessions, and the therapist herself was crying because she couldn't understand how I went through so much and I'm still able to have my sanity. So a lot of times, we go through stuff and then we don't understand that these things are triggers. These things are things that are cause us in the long run as adults to grow with these things and to affect us in a negative way.
It comes through your body. So even though you were functioning, you were actually functioning and not functioning. You were functioning, doing everything, but it was affecting your body. It was affecting your emotions. It was affecting. In other words, people call it a tick, 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 tick. We're just kind of ticking away like a bomb until we
Yes.
recognize it, handle it, deal with it, and know it's
Mhm.
okay. You're not crazy. It's okay. Things happen.
Yes.
But in
So
our community, we don't talk about it.
yes, and that was one of my questions for you, but I'm going to ask it to you now, and then we're going to bring um another guest on, because I have, guys, listen, I have three guests here today for you, and I'm telling you this, we're going to talk about so many different wonderful things, and their stories are going to blow you away. Mental illness is not only happening in adults. Children face mental illness as well, and we hear of children committing suicide, taking their lives, and we don't understand what these kids are going through, what triggers them. So I am going to bring Shwana is going to bring Shauna, which is her daughter. I think it's your 16-year-old daughter, and
Yes.
she's going to give her perspective and her story of with her experience with mental illness. So please welcome our cute
Okay.
little 16-year-old
Thank
Shauna.
you. Wait, let me introduce you first. So I just want to introduce you to my beautiful 16-year-old daughter. I have two, one 33 and one 16 years old. The reason that is so important is because of the fact sometimes if I am anxious or have anxiety during COVID, me and her, I saw it coming through her, what she seemed to be having anxiety during that process. So right now, mental health is a topic that we discuss openly in our home because I don't want to ever find my daughter in a room or I have to find something. Everything is open when we talk about this. So whoever's listening to us right now, please understand. Talk to your kids. Talk. If you think something wrong, nine times out of 10, it is. So without further ado, I would like to bring on the beautiful Shwana.
Hi, I am Shwana.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Good. So tell us your experience with. I know you're 13. How is school? How's everything going for you?
No, no, she's 16.
Take the 13, okay? You looking 13 years old. How's you're 16? So how is school? How's everything going for you?
I mean, I'm a junior in high school. I would say is the most stressful time in high school. It's you're not going to college, but you're starting to look at colleges. You're doing your testing, ACT, SAT. Everyone's telling you, got to figure it out now. Got to figure it out now. You're testing every other week. So it does get rough, but I would still say it's very fun because it is high school. I am a teenager. I can drive. I
Yes,
can hang with my
yes.
friends. So it's kind of pros and cons. Let's go through it.
Okay. So please tell us your about your struggles with mental illness. Tell us some of the things that you've experienced.
Like my mom said, I personally had my struggles with anxiety. I've always noticed since I was a kid, just little things. I noticed if this didn't go my way, I would get really nervous, really anxious. Even now, if we're running late for something and I realize that, I will start I would yell at everyone. I don't care who it is. I'm like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Because I feel like it's out of my control, or anything that just feels like I cannot control it, it's going to make me panic. Or even during quarantine with schoolwork and going back to school, I struggled really hard because, the doing school from home and then going back to school, my brain couldn't catch up on all that work I was behind on. So I just was like, okay, can't do it now. There's no point completely. If I'm feeling out,
Yes,
it's probably going to feel
yes.
forever. So I just kind of, I don't want to say flat lines, but I kind of just was like, you know what? I'm just going to ride it out. And then I also have had a lot of friends who struggle from mental illness, and I was their kind of lifeline. Like I had a best friend, still my best friend to this day. She was really low, and I kind of saw the decline. Like we were here, and then one day it just just felt like everything just went apart. And she was just crying to me, telling me, like, I can't do this. I cannot do this anymore. And I was like, no, we got to do this. We got to figure this out because I'm not losing you right now. We got this. Even if it's
Yes.
me running to her house at 11 at night, 9 at night to just sit with her. Even my mom was like, hey, you know, my friend needs me. She'd be like, okay, just be back at this time. Hey, she can come over.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when you're in that headspace, you don't want to be alone. That's the scariest, most fearful thing. Even if you're mentally alone, just physically, you want to be with someone just to remind you that you're not alone. So, and I just, even not just with her, but just a bunch, I have so many friends that deal with mental illness, not even just depression, anxiety, but schizophrenia,
Mm-hmm.
ADHD. And you just see how it could affect their lives on wide scale ranges and even small scale ranges.
Yes. I totally understand. I have a 26-year-old now, and he's married, with his family. But when he was your age, I did not know too much about mental illness, but some of the same symptoms, some of the same, signs that you were talking about, he went through it. And I had to understand that, um something was going on with him. I did not know exactly what it was, but I know something was going on with him. And so it's a good thing that you have your mom who's able to be a support system for you and who knows it, who know what you're going through and who understand what you were going through. And even if I didn't know too much about mental illness then, but I was there for my son in a way. We always had that close, mother son relationship, and so I was able to speak with him for me to be able to understand what he was going through. You understand? So I I I applaud you for being able to speak out, on what you're feeling. So what you're feeling. So let me ask you, what are some of the things that you do as a young person to cope with it?
Um, I mean, I still struggle with it. I've realized that it just depends on the day, what I'm feeling or how I'm going to cope. But a big thing I do is I sit and I'm like, I know this may not work for everyone, but I sit and I'm like, I live on a giant rock in the middle of space in a small universe. This little problem is not big part of my life. This is like a very small compared to what the earth really is. I know that I can get over this. Will this matter next year? Will this matter next week? And then when I can
Mhm,
really just center how big the problem is and just see, okay, maybe it's not
mhm.
that big, or maybe it's all in my head, then from there I'm able to calm myself down. Or
Yeah.
sometimes I'll turn on like Dora the Explorer and just watch Dora because I know that's so mindless. But I'm just like watch a kids cartoon, just watch something that mindlessly takes your mind, gives you a laugh, gives you a giggle, and just from there you can just help center yourself again to really solve the issue.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, you are such a brave young lady, and you are strong. I can see that you're strong. You get it from your mama, girl. I don't know your papa, but you get. Okay, so while we add this, like I said, mental illness don't just affect adults, but it also affect children, even younger children than she is. And let me put on the screen some of the signs. Okay, let me see if I can open it up a little bit. It says mood swings, you lasting several weeks, extreme feelings, looking for feelings of overwhelming fear or worry for no apparent reason, which may affect daily activities and interactions, difficulty concentrating, which you talked about, looking for signs of trouble focusing on sitting still and stuff like that. Physical symptoms, kids with mental health conditions might develop headaches and stomach aches rather than sadness or anxiety. And behavior changes, beware of drastic changes in behavior or personalities, such as frequent arguing. And this is new to me. And substance abuse, look for signs of drug alcohol use to try to cope with their feelings. Physical harm, which was when I looked at that, which was really scary for me to think of my young little person going to harm themselves. Sorry, I'm okay. Sometimes a mental health condition leads to self-injury, such as cutting or burning yourself, and in severe cases, suicidal thoughts or behaviors.
And I also want to add to the physical harm part in your children, not just cutting or burning. It could be just maybe when they get frustrated, they may punch themselves or pinch themselves or get a rubber band, flick themselves. Because at the age where we talk about it, you know what to watch out for. But some people don't take it to that extreme point. Some may physically harm themselves and not realize it. Some may just punch hit, because they don't want pain, but they just give that like kind of burst of energy out in that way. So just
Yes.
also watch out for that.
Yes. Wow. You are so right, sweetheart. You are an example to a lot of young people, and I'm just gonna tell you, keep putting on the fight with mental illness, because it is not something that goes away just in the snap of a finger. It is something we have to work at. Okay, so thank you so much for your input, and I appreciate you. I love you. I'm hoping that we're gonna meet sometime soon. Okay, this was Shwana. She gave her input, guys. She did an amazing job, and I want to thank you for being on here. I mean, it's a short notice, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetheart. So back to my dear Shwana Thomas. Your names are so similar. Shwana Thomas. Shwana Thomas. Okay. So Shwana, thank you so much. Now, like we said, it is not only in adults, kids, but in adults, but in kids. But tonight we have another story. And let me fix up my hair so it wouldn't mess up. So I could watch. Hold on a second. Let me fix up my hair. Okay.
Looking good, Cindy. There you go. Okay.
It's blocking my eyes. I want you to see my eyes and my earrings too, okay? But it's coming on my head. But listen, I'm all jokes aside. Mental illness comes in many forms, okay? And as I said earlier, uh, it comes under the name mental illness, but your experience and the way you handle things may not be the way I handle things with my mental illness, okay? And some of the triggers that you have may not be some of the triggers that I have, okay? And so it is sad when people characterize one person's mental illness with the other, and that is sad because we all don't have the same DNA. Okay, we are all cut different, uniquely in our own ways, so we are going to handle things differently. But tonight, we also have another guest. Okay, we also have another guest, and from a man's perspective, he's an amazing, amazing young man. I just met him, but I can tell he is amazing. So I am going to bring him on. He's going to give you mental illness from a man's perspective. Shwana, do not get off the screen. I want all of us to be there together as I bring everybody in, okay? So please help me welcome my special guest tonight, Ivan Sullivan. Hi.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hi. What's going on? It's good to have you.
It's good to be here.
Yes, I'm hearing an echo, a background noise.
That might be on my end.
Okay. So talk to us. How are you and how was your day?
I am doing good. Oh, hold on. Let me move around.
Okay.
Considering we're in the same location, I think he may have to move himself somewhere far away, but I did mute myself out as well while he finds
Okay.
him the perfect spot. We can see him looking. He doesn't know.
Now I met Ivan through.
Okay. I believe that's better now.
Yes, darling, it is. I met Ivan through Shwana, and I'm telling you, we've been working because I think it is important that everybody gets different viewpoints on what mental illness does and how it affects male, female, and children as well as adults. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself, sweetheart. What do you do?
Well, I am a music producer. I've been doing that since I was a teenager. I'm also a clothing designer, also a crafting designer. So I don't just do shirts. Like this is actually some of my work as well.
Okay.
Um, I also am a content creator. So I've been pretty much a jack of all trades right now.
That's what I was about to say. I can put you in the category of jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Okay. So listen, are you from Chicago actually?
I am from Chicago. I'm actually from the suburbs of Chicago, but I am born and technically raised in Chicago.
Okay. So I didn't ask you one of these, but I'm gonna ask you. So if I come down to Chicago, what's your favorite dish in Chicago I can try?
If you're asking me, it's going to be an Italian beef or
Uh,
probably the pizza, but not the deep dish. A lot of people think
Okay.
the deep dish is the best pizza in Chicago. It's not.
Well, I happen to like pizza. I can't eat too much of it, but I'm going to try that one. So I'm going to hold you to your word. I'm going to come to look for you, okay?
Okay.
So tell us, how does your work help you? What were you diagnosed with, and how does your work factor into, helping you cope with what you are diagnosed with? But first,
Hmm.
I think I jumped the gun a bit. First, tell me what were you were diagnosed with?
Well, I was diagnosed with bipolar 1. This was about 10 years ago. Previously, before then, I was also diagnosed as manic depressant in my teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
So I've dealt with mental illness for quite a while, quite a bit of time of my life. So I've been able to be an advocate towards mental illness
Mm-hmm.
and helping people to understand what it is, what the different categories of it is, the triggers, pretty much the whole script of what is mental illness.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So from a man's perspective, um, how has what has that been like for you? How do people view you as somebody with mental illness? Are they accepting, or is there still a stigma behind it? Or men are supposed to be tough, and they're supposed to be the strong. So how are they viewing you with a man who has been diagnosed with bipolar?
It is still a stigma. There is a huge stigma, especially among men, especially among black men to be specific, or men of color, because we are taught as boys that, you man up, boys don't cry, you'll get over it, just get over it. Not understanding that that's fine and dandy in certain situations, but you can't categorize everybody that. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, myself with my own mental illness, I'm not the type to just get over it. I'm not the type to just go, okay, well, it happened. No, I go through emotion. I go through a sadness. I go through a episode. So it's not easy to just go, oh, okay, well, they'll be fine. He's a man. No, not every man is able to do that. And I'm one of them to speak on that. So, yes.
Wow. So it just saddens me when people tell you you're gonna get over it. Illness is
Yes.
illness. You
Yes.
don't
And
just get over stuff.
yes, it's truly an illness. We don't just there. Yes, there are medicines for it, but that's to help it. It's no different from having, let's say, lupus. Let's say sickle cell. You don't just get over and cure sickle cell. You don't just cure lupus. That's something you have to continue to work with. And there's no one way to do it. You have many different ways. For instance, I go to therapy as well. I have also checked myself inside a psychiatric facility through because of my mental health. And
Mhm.
I have no shame in admitting that.
You are so brave to do that, because a lot of people, a lot of men do not want to admit that the mental health is, and I have seen so many friends of mine, and they don't want to admit that, okay, I'm just even say that I am depressed.
Hmm.
You know, if you speak up, you can get somebody to relate to you and to help you along the way. But when you don't speak and you don't say anything, then how are you going to be able to get the help that you need? You
Exactly.
understand?
It takes
Silence.
yes, it
Go
takes a
ahead.
lot. It takes a lot, especially for a man, not to cut you
Mhm.
off. It takes a lot for a man to even admit that they have something wrong with them.
Mhm.
Because again, we're taught to basically to just suck it up. So
Mhm.
for any man to like be open and say, "Hey, I'm not okay today. Hey, this is bothering me," takes a lot. So yeah.
Mhm.
So yes.
Cindy, can I ask Evan a question?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Evan, can you tell me what actually triggers you?
That was what I was just about to ask you.
Okay. I knew that question. I had a feeling that question was coming. For my own personal self, it can be, let's say it's a situation that pops up. The best example I give is something new can trigger me. For instance, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing like, oh, my bills or my rent, or I have children as well, or my kids. Sometimes it could be something as simple as a comment being made and the tone of it being made. not everybody takes everything the same way. So I could be told the same sentence in two different ways, and it can trigger me depending on which way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not able to just snap out of it to just get over it. No, I may feel some type of way, and it may, my brain, the way that it's set up, may go, let's go deep and darker over maybe this one minuscule thing, and let's make it a big thing. That's one of my triggers. Another trigger could just be sometimes it just, the brain decides to go on its own journey, and you have to kind of catch yourself. So those would be like my triggers.
Wow.
How can I help you when you go into one of those triggers?
Well, for one, in all honesty, I would have to speak up about it, because again, a lot of the times we don't want to speak up on what we're going through. We don't want to be pessimistic, but I feel that if we are, if at least for myself, if I'm able to speak up and say, "Hey, I'm not feeling okay," I know a lot of the times my face will tell exactly how I feel, or that I'm going through something. So it's all about mainly just speaking up and saying, "Hey, this is what's going on with me." And sometimes the best way to help a person is sometimes to just be a listening person, be an ear for them. That's definitely can be a help. That just sitting there listening to what they're going through, and sometimes throwing in suggestions, not telling them what to do, but just throw out a suggestion of, hey, have you ever looked at it this way? Though that would be that, if that helps answer your question.
It did. And right now, I just want to apologize because I know I've probably told you too. Okay, that's it. Get over it. So right now on this platform, I just want to say I do apologize because sometimes we just really don't know when somebody is not okay. And we are big on saying get over it. So I
Yes.
just want to say if I ever told you to get over it or snap out of it and stop it, I'm saying I'm sorry now.
Well,
And
I accept that.
sometimes,
That is,
and
and that,
sometimes, guys, it's not the matter. Sometimes it just comes out just like that. You don't want to just say it, just like we so used to telling somebody, "It's okay, you're gonna get over it," or that's all right. It comes out, but when you sit back and you think, yes, I have said it too, and if any, like, I'm taking your I'm behind you on that. If I've told anybody it's okay, you're gonna get over it. But from the time I get to know about mental illness and how damaging words can be, because they will tell you that you have something, but to be able to tell you how to speak to somebody with mental illness, you are not taught these things. You are not taught these things. People don't usually tell you, okay, instead of saying she committed suicide, say, well, she passed away from suicide, or you understand what I'm saying? People don't tell you how to speak on these things. They will just tell you, well, you have this and this is what they suffer with. So it is important that we are tactful with our words, how we speak
yeah,
to somebody. And sometimes when we don't know the person has mental illness, we don't know. Okay. I know for me, if I was shouted at a lot when I was growing up. And so if somebody started raising their voice at me, the war of confusion that goes on in my head is like, we in the Third World War mixed with the Second World War, everything
yes,
together. Yes. And I just shut down. I shut down because I'm going like, okay, I can deal with this. So many is going on with me, and you will not hear a word from me again when I start to shut down. And like even I would take literally for days for me to be able to just get out of that little space that I was and to come back to my senses. And I'm not saying it has not gotten too much better over the years, but it is something that I am working on. Okay. And I hate to be supervised.
Cindy, can I ask you a question also? I put my podcast hat on as well. Now, you
Yes.
also stated that you were molested from the age of what, 6 to 8?
8 years old until I was 13.
Really? Okay. And also, you lost your daughter at what age?
My daughter was 2 months old when I lost her. So I was like about 30. That was happening in 2015. I was like about 36.
So, do you feel that you are more protective over your kids because of what happened to you? Do you feel like
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm ready to excuse my language, people. Oh, I'm not going to say it before Facebook cut me off, but I'm a. It's like I'm gonna be a mama bear. I'm a mama bear to my boys because I know boys as well as girls have been molested. Anybody I called my baby,
Right.
I'm very protective over them. Even the people that are in my life, my spouses, the people that I call family, I am very protective over children. I'm protective over my kids. The minute somebody look at them on the wrong, but what? But I'm not a fighting type, you know. But it's just like the fact that I have been to that molestation, that the rape, the abuses. You understand? And I saw at one point that because I was being shouted at when I was younger, I started to develop that pattern as well. And so it took my oldest son. I realized that he was getting into that same space. He told me, "Mom, stop screaming at me." And I had to check myself. You went through the same thing and then you passing it on to your child. Don't do that.
But generationally, we call it spiritually, we call it generational curses. That
Uh-huh.
sometimes we continue to pass on things that we do not know we're passing them on until somebody stops us. So when we have conversations like this, we're able to say, wait a minute, I do that. I do that. I used to work with rapists and pedophiles, and I had to leave because of what they did to kids. But
Mm-hmm.
they said that they prefer boys over girls. So actuality, moms think, oh, let me protect my girls. We should protect our girls, but actually protect your boys more, because you don't assume that it'll happen to a boy. That's why it happens more to boys.
Yes,
So
and I
keep
have two
that
boys.
mama bear.
Yes, I have two boys, and
Right.
even my youngest is autistic. So I am just like, I have that extra shield of protection over him. You understand? Because I'm his voice. I am, I'm his protector, I'm everything. So I have that extra shield of protection over him because he cannot speak for himself, and it's going to be hard for him to tell me if somebody did something to him. Okay, so I have that extra shield of protection. So we have got to protect our children. We have got to protect boys. We got to protect girls. We got to protect those who in our circle we consider as our own. And any children whom we find in a situation where we see signs that they are being molested, or they being, abused. You understand? We have to protect those children.
Yes. Don't forget, we have one more guest, Sydney.
Yes. Oh, don't you worry about that. We'll be fine. You're gonna come on. So let me ask you one thing. What brought about even? What brought about your mental your bipolar?
I would say a few factors. One of them was definitely being bullied. Like, children are very cruel. I can admit that. Um, they, not everybody that gets bullied is able to take over the bully, or they become the bully. Sometimes they just become damaged, and
Yeah.
that was one factor for me. So I've dealt with a lot of low self-esteem. I dealt with a lot of depressive episodes. I've even dealt with suicidal ideation. And so that, as well as also feeling as though I have this through my genetics, because one of my parents also has her own my mother has her own like mental diagnosis as well.
Mm-hmm.
So with the genetics and with, past trauma, it triggered a lot of different negative effects of like my mental. Like, so for instance, when I got diagnosed as bipolar, I pretty much kind of knew that I was, because I had a previous one, but I didn't realize that it had escalated, because technically bipolar is a step above the manic depressant or just the depressant. It's more so I may have a mood swing and I won't even catch it. And even though I do take the medication, it only does so much. Like, I'm going back to what I was saying earlier about, you don't just cure it, you got to deal with it and you got to treat it.
Mm-hmm.
So because I do know that I am bipolar, that I do have those episodes, it's more so of me learning to deal with it, but also to treat it and to catch it as well. That's the hardest part, I believe, is when you have it, is trying to catch it, because
Yeah.
I can go into a depressive episode and won't even realize it. I've actually had my psychiatrist tell me that I am in a depressive state and you do not realize it. And so that would be what brought on about my bipolar.
So one last question before we bring our second guest,
Mhm.
our fourth guest. Yeah. What would advice? I'm losing my numbers now. What advice would you give to the men, especially black men in our community, Caucasian, what Latino, whatever? What advice would you give to the men as a whole? what advice would you give to us, to the men, as to when they have mental illness or they portray signs of mental illness?
I would say first and foremost, speak up. We don't know what's going on with you if you don't open your mouth and say, "Hey, I have this going on with me. Hey, I'm having a bad day. Hey, I'm sad. Hey, I'm depressed." And secondly, put that pride aside, because as men, again, we are brought up. Most, if not all men, are brought up at some point in time to say, "Oh, I'll get over it. Oh, I'll be fine." When really that's more damaging than saying something. And yes, you may say it to the wrong person, meaning you may say it to someone who really doesn't care. It's better to speak up and say something than to hold it in, because in all honesty, it does nobody any good. It does you no good. It does your family no good, your friends, because you're literally walking around with problems that you don't understand, and you may need professional help. And there's nothing wrong with getting professional help. I actually advocate people to go seek help. It doesn't have to be to the extent of, "Oh, I need to go get myself checked in." More so, you may just need a therapist. You may need someone to help counsel you. You may need even just a close friend that can you can just unload everything with, and it be a trusted source. That would be my advice. I would say just open up. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. We're As men, we are terrified of vulnerability because we don't want to be looked at as weak. And it's not weak to be vulnerable. It's human to be vulnerable. So it's okay to speak up, say, "I'm not okay. It's not a good day for me," or "This just happened and I don't feel good. I may need a minute," or something. So that would be my advice for the men out there.
Thank you so much for that piece of advice. Lavon, Johnny, how are you, sweetheart? She said, very powerful and informative session. Thank you for your vulnerability and honesty. Now, guys, we're going to have our final guest on the show. And she is an amazing, amazing woman. She has beat the odds. She is, people say a miracle. She is a miracle. But I'm going to let her tell you herself a little bit about her story. Please help me welcome my final guest tonight, Yolanda Carter. Miss Carter? Hi, Yolanda. Are you there? Yolanda?
She looks like she's here, just her picture won't pop up. Yolanda, if you can hear, you have to turn your camera on.
She coming. She coming.
While we wait for Yolanda, Evan, can I ask you a question? So
Sure.
right now, when you get into a deep depression, what do you do to come out of it? A lot of people talk about being in it. What do you do to help yourself come out of it? Because honestly, only you really can help yourself come out of it.
Right. That is very true. What I do, I won't say what I do. What I've learned to do is to first of all to recognize that I'm even in the depressive state, because again, I've been in depressive states and didn't even realize it. The Once I get through that part, I'll go speak to a close friend. I may even text my therapist. I may call somebody. Sometimes for myself, because I have an artistic side, I may go make a beat or five. I may, produce something. So I try to have different avenues of trying to get myself.
He just talking. I can hear him in another room. He is going.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So we have our guest here, Yolanda Carter. My love, how are you doing tonight?
Hello. Hi, everyone. Can you
It
guys
is
hear
such
me?
Yes, we can
Yes.
see you. It is such a pleasure to have you on the show, Portrait and Perspective with Placide. Okay, thank you so much for being here. Listen, guys, before I continue, let me tell you some of the comments we are getting from and after you'll hear Yolanda's story, you're gonna want to review this a few more times, okay? Along with all our stories. Lauren said, Shanita Misha said, excellent topic. I'm glad to be part of this platform to get these important facts. And Lauren said, Wish more people could hear and listen to each and every one of you, because mental health is now like a plague upon this world, and there are some of us out there screaming for help and releases. Hearing you all could help someone out there maybe going through worse. Very well worth listening to each one of you. Valuable points and unfortunately experiences. Shauna Mitchell, Ivan and Shauna, very well spoken. Thanks for sharing. I love you guys always and forever. And Brenda Queen Sugar Parker, good evening, sweetheart. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so we are going to hear Miss Yolanda's story. Please, sweetheart, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you for asking. Hello, audience. Hello, everyone. Yes,
Hi.
I'm doing amazing. Hi, Shwana.
Okay,
Hi.
so please tell us, where are you from? You from the Chicago area too?
I am Chicago native, born and raised. I am a mother of five beautiful adult children. I'm
Mhm,
an author. I'm an advocate for domestic violence abuse. I'm a
mhm.
speaker. I'm also just me. This
Yes,
is
yes,
Yolanda.
yes,
I
and I love your spirit.
thank you.
You're welcome. So, sweetheart, tell us what kind of mental illness were you diagnosed with? If some of us are diagnosed with many, for me, I had anxiety, chronic grief. I have, PTSD, and there's another one I can't remember. So I have like four of them that I was diagnosed with. Tell us what you were diagnosed with, please. Tell the viewers.
Okay. Well, my um, mental abuse started March 22nd, 2016.
Okay.
I'm a violent crime survivor of a very traumatic experience. Um, I was brutally beaten with a hammer, and that left me to die, and my son being my only eyewitness. In result of that, I lost my left eye. I had 13 reconstructive surgeries, and with that, I I was very traumatized. It caused me to have PTSD, fear, a lot of fear, not wanting to be around people, very afraid to go out. And right now, to this day, when I go places, I have to be in the company of someone um, like when I go certain places, not every place, but if I know that I'm gonna know someone when I get there, I'm okay. Um, there's there's so many different times where I just fall into depression, and that's not just the trauma from what happened. It is a lot. It's like a multitude of things. It could be not being where I am, where I used to be. I was a mother. I was very self sufficient. Never had to depend on anyone. Always able to resolve whatever it is needed to get done. I had a car. I had my place to live. I had money in the bank. I just was a well rounded person. Never watched any abuse growing up. That was not even talked about in our household. My mom never had to work. My dad is a very good provider. So it was very. I grew up in a really um, positive environment. Never had to see anything that was making me feel like I'm a fear of anything. Right now, it could be just the sound effects, like going to a movie. I was tricked into going to, not tricked, I don't want to say tricked. I was asked to come to a movie and really didn't know that when the movie, uh, during, through the movie, there was a lot of sound effects, a lot, and that caused a lot of the trauma because it kind of like take me back to that um, that fear, the noise, the hearing certain sounds, and I get very fearful. Um, Also, being a mother of a difficult child, which that was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I was always have to take him to the doctor. We always went to the mental health clinic um, monthly. Um, they had him on medication. He would have these explosive behaviors, and I used to wonder, what is wrong with him? Why can't you just get it together? And it is hard for a parent, as a parent, to learn how to deal with difficult children. But you have to learn. You have to realize that this could be you. And because mine came in a latter year, and due to the fact of mine coming as trauma related, it's various times when I can go to bed, I can wake up, heart beating, wake up, heart beating, biting in my mouth, my tongue, palpitating, heart palpitating, don't know what's going on, just trying to figure it out. Like I must have an attack, just thinking that I'm about to be attacked again. So, with that being said, it's so hard to deal with um, mental illness because just recently I was still going through the losses, the trauma, the pandemic had really taken me over. I was not able to even see a therapist. It's I am team therapist all day long. That's one thing I am. It's so important for us to make sure that we see or talk to someone that we can really get to understand what's really going on, because a lot of times we don't talk about the issues that's going on because of the embarrassment. We're shamed. We like you said, we always talk to not talk about what you're feeling like. I never used to tell nobody that I'm having a bad day, but now I learn that when I'm not having a bad day, it's important for me to be transparent and to say, I'm struggling today. Shawana, she can contest to me. She knows that I've been having a lot of rough days. But I still, with the help of just talking to her and talking to other people, it helps pull you back together. What also made me realize how serious this is when Twitch, which was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, he took his life. And at that time, I was going through. I was going through. It was days that I was just crying. I would cry, and I just couldn't sometimes pull myself together. The holidays came around. I was always able to shop. I always had money to do things. And we shouldn't focus on the material things, but it's just the things that I I was I felt like I
You had a way of life.
I had a certain way of life, absolutely.
Mm, mm.
But when that all the things that happened to me, everything felt like it just came to a halt. My life's like it didn't stop, but it came. What I want to say, it altered my life.
Yes. I want to ask you a question. I don't want to cut you off because I'm literally trying to hold back my tears. I'm literally trying to hold it back. If it's not too much for you, I want to bring you back on the show. But if it's not too much for you, and if it's going to trigger anything, I beg you, please do not answer. Okay. But
Cindy, can I take over and I'll be honored to interview Yolanda? Can I?
yes, please, please, please.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, Yolanda. I know you know I love you, so I got you. You know I'm right here, and when this is over, I know we're gonna have to talk and we're gonna have to come down off this.
Right.
So, the night that this happened, can you walk us through what happened?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it leaded up. It was like a weekend. It was I want to say on a Friday. I want to say March 19th. It was a Friday. We all got up that morning. I was getting ready to go to work. He was going to work. I had to take my son to school. We end up leaving, but Friday it was time to come back. I picked up my son from school, and me and my son came home. But the individual, he never made it home. So there was no call, no show. that night. There was no call, no show on Saturday. There was no call, no show on Sunday. But he did reach out to me late Sunday night. But I kept ignoring the call. So I knew that he was gonna have to, me gonna have to answer the call because he was gonna have to come home. So on Sunday, well, which is Monday, that's when I answered the call and I said, "Yes, may I help you?" And that's when he said, "Are you at home?" And I said, "No, I'm not at home. I'm dropping my son off at school. I'm picking my son up from school, but I like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So by me taking him home, I decided to want to go get something to eat, and we went to go get something to eat. Well, myself, I dropped him off. Didn't know that the guy was at the building, watching me drop him off. So I'm under the impression that okay, I'm going to get something to eat. I'm just gonna go home and get situated, and then I'll just let him come back later. So as I was coming home, he was calling me, "Are you at home?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not home." And which he already seen. So I don't know if he was mad because I was lying to him or if I deceived him and I just was out. I did go get something to eat, but I came home. But by the time I came back home, the Holy Spirit or something told me to park my car around the corner. I just don't know why. I parked my car around the corner. I eventually ended up walking towards the building. By the time I got to the building, um, he was wedged in the building. He was wedged in the doorway, and I didn't see him. So when I got so close, he came out, and I froze because I was like, "Oh my God, he caught me." So he didn't have any keys to the house, so he couldn't just come in and out when he wanted to. So um, I ended up letting him come in with me. He said, "Oh, are you all set?" And I said, "Yes." Are you all still here?
Yeah, we still hear Yolanda. It froze for a moment. You stopped when you let him come in the house.
You muted.
Okay.
She's
Yolanda,
muted.
Yolanda, you're muted out. Yolanda, you're muted. Yolanda, you're muted. Unmute yourself. We can't hear you. I can't hear you. Now, there you go. Can you hear me? Do you need to go out and come back in? Because we can't hear you now.
Something must have tripped her up.
Yeah, if she could
Mhm.
go out and come back in. Evan, right now, while Yolanda's doing that, we had a question about the prescription you take in regard to medication. And how long did it take for physicians to determine what dosage was appropriate for you?
So to answer that question, it actually took, I want to say, maybe a couple years. I originally, when I was first diagnosed, when I was about 17, 18, they put me on, um, what is the name of it? Prozac. I was on Prozac for a short while, and then I ended up getting on another medication. I can't remember the name of it at the time, but I was on it for a short while. And as of 2013, I've been on Paxil, which is 10 milligrams. Originally, it was about 30 milligrams, but I've been able to get my dosages lowered, and I take Seroquel, which is a night medicine. I was originally on 300, and now I'm down to 100. So it just takes, I would say, within a 6 months to a year to get fully adjusted, because your body reacts differently. It also takes a
Yes.
while for it to adjust in your body, because it's going through not just the mental change but a physical change as well. So I would say, to answer that, how long it took, I would say 6 months to a year fully to be fully um, in the right medication and have the right medication.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you,
good to hear
Evan.
you.
That was actually perfect timing. So,
Yes.
Perfect.
Yolanda, thank you. So
So,
Yolanda, we
Shona, I want to say thank you so much for realizing that I was choking up. I just couldn't ask the question.
well, me and Yolanda work together a lot, so I
Yeah.
had to learn how to for her to get her story out, to learn how to be her strength. So I've
Mm-hmm.
learned to put my tears to the side and do whatever to
Mm-hmm.
assist. So Yolanda, right now you guys were going up the stairs. You let him in the house.
Right, I let him in the house, and
Yes.
then we sat at the kitchen table. He asked me. He said, "Can I take a shower?" And the first thing I was like, "No, just playing off. No, you can't take no shower." I ended up letting him take a shower. He ended up taking a shower. He also asked me what which I was told is that he asked me, "Can he use the key card to wash his clothing?" So I end up letting him do that, I assume. So all after all that has transpired, it was getting late. I want to say about 10 o'clock that night. I went into the bedroom, and he was a sound asleep. And then I still had a couple of hours before I wanted to, just stay up for a little while because I didn't go to bed till like 10 o'clock. Well, even not 10 o'clock. I'm sorry, 12 o'clock a.m. So as I was getting myself together, I already took my shower, and I ended up going to bed. But I did go to bed at 12 midnight, and all I know is that I didn't wake up the same way I went to sleep.
Wow.
Yes, I went to sleep. Uh, I woke up being shaken by my son and in a pool of blood, and didn't understand what was going on. And the first thing I asked, I said, "What happened?" Well, first of all, I was looking, and I'm looking like, why am I bleeding out of my nose and my mouth, and seeing all this brain stuff in the bed with me? And I'm looking at the paramedics. They asking me, "What's my name? Do I know who this was that did this to me?" And I told them, I said, yes. I gave them then his name. And I just told them, "Don't let me die." And they told me, "You're not going to die. You're going to live. You're talking." And I just said, "Don't let me die. Please don't let me die." And they took me to the closest hospital. But when I got to that hospital, they told me that there was nothing they could do for me. I was in too bad of a shape. So they had to airlift me to a trauma hospital. And once I got to the trauma hospital, I was in critical condition. They had to remove my eye because it was no good. They had to put a metal plate in my skull. I had a metal plate. He crushed my skull and broke every last bone in my left side of my face. And I got gashes in the back of my head and in my teeth. They had to put braces on my teeth because all the bones were broken and shattered. So they had to. I was on um, braces for 6 months. Couldn't eat food. Was on a liquid diet. But through the whole journey, I learned to love who I was, who I am. This is my new normal, and I had to learn how to live and how to move and do everything all over again. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to just learn how to do everything. And it's a struggle, but I'm learning to now be strong enough to want to just help others through my experience because I know what happened to me was not for me. It's definitely for someone else. And I know that it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to really be vulnerable enough to share a story like this because a lot of people want to say, well, if you was beaten in your head with a hammer, this man beat me in the head with a hammer, left me with my brains literally in the bed with me. And to God be the glory. I am here to tell the story with no brain damage. And the doctors they couldn't understand. They said, "Ma'am, people do not survive this. We don't even know how you walking around here, how you talking." I said, but God, it's
I
grace
am
and
lis-
mercy.
I am listening to you and I'm getting goosebumps. I am trying to figure out it was only God.
Only God. 13 reconstructive surgeries, my son, the hands of the surgeons. I was very disfigured. I was very disfigured. When it was time for them to put me back to make me look like something, they had to ask me to show them pictures of what I used to look like, and it was very it is very hard, but I'm grateful. I'm alive. I just had my last surgery in November, and you know that was, I went through it, another little depression after that as well, because those are memories of, what happened. But I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be a voice for the voiceless. As I stand and as I sit here in front of you all, because I know there's someone else that has been through something, that has been through domestic violence, and domestic violence is really so real. And because of
Yes.
stigmas, we don't talk about them. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want to tell nobody because we don't want to be feel like we are shamed, or it made it feel like it's our fault. It's never your fault. It's never your fault. And always remember that you have to be able to talk to someone, to get someone to help you to navigate what's going on. There's a safety plan. But I thank God for grace and mercy. I lay every night, I lay with my Bible open every night, and God shielded me. I couldn't tell you what a hammer felt like. The doctors even said they don't even know how many times he got me. They said that he did so much damage. My cranium, everything was crushed and broken. Everything was broken and shattered on this left side because he got me over here. They had to they had to do a lot to me. But to God be the glory. I am a miracle. You never seen one. You're looking at one. And I'm
Yes.
so
Yes.
grateful. I don't take it for granted. I don't. I just feel like I know that there's someone that has been through something and too afraid to talk about it. Don't never be ashamed, and don't never be afraid of talking about it, because it can help someone else. It can definitely help someone else. And that's how my experience with mental health started, through my traumatic experience of brutally beaten with a hammer. But
Wow.
I'm grateful today. I still struggle, and there is days when I do struggle. I struggle the most when it's time every month around this time. It's time for bills. How is my bills gonna get paid?
Speaking of that, put your cash out, please. It was placed on my heart. Please put your cash out in the chat. So if somebody want to bless you, they can. And I know, you know, I try to send whatever, but you are a blessing, because every time you tell this story, I will call you every time to make sure you're okay. Every time you speak your story to help somebody else.
Listen, this is a woman who had everything going for her. Never known violence, but in a blink of an eye, almost everything was taken away from her. But you know what? God is the strongest and most powerful protector there is. And that day he had his angel to make sure that you did not lose your life.
No, Yolanda, put it in the regular chat also. You put it in the private chat, but also put it in the regular chat as well.
She can give it to me because I can I'm putting I can comment from over here.
All right. I think we lost her again.
You
She will
lost
have,
her. Yeah,
yes,
she'll come back.
she'll come back.
Oh my
So
gosh, what a powerful story.
yeah. And we are together in the book called The Book of Ruth that will be out
Yes.
soon.
Yeah.
So all the traumas of what we experienced, of me getting shot,
Yes.
of me still being here right now.
Yes.
When people ask me, "What do you think you are?" I'm a story of redemption, because I was
Mhm.
redeemed. You know,
Yes.
it's people getting shot and killed every day. At the time my trauma happened, I had my daughter with me,
Mm-hmm.
and she was younger. And somebody, they always say, you know when something's about to happen. My whole day was that of God talking to me, and you being young, you not listening. When people say, how you know God talking to you? Well, I had to learn what it meant when God spoke with me. My mom usually don't just hug and kiss. She's not a huggy, kissy young woman, but she said, she hugged me really tight and said, Shwana, be careful today. Do you have to go out? I said, yeah, Ma, I do. She said, be careful. I said, I love you too. When I got to where I was going, I had an eerie feeling come over me and I said, well, it don't matter. I shook it off, similar to Yolanda. I shook it off, and I tried to get my daughter out the back seat. When I got my daughter, in the process of getting my daughter out the back seat of the car, somebody walked up to me, put a gun to my head, and said, "Bitch, if you make a sound, I will kill you." I froze and continued to do what they asked because I didn't want anything to happen to my daughter. I then, Afterwards, they told me take her and her daughter and walk her to the alley. I proceeded to walk to the alley with them, and walking to the alley, they said, "Give me her daughter." So they snatched my daughter away from me and told me, "Where are you going?" I said, "I was just going in the house to my friend's house." And a guy barked out orders and said, "When she goes in the house, you bum rush the house. You bum rush the house."
Okay.
So Yolanda, that's your line, because I think everybody else can hear me. Can you hear me okay, Cindy?
Yes.
Yolanda, that's your line. So after they told me to go in the house, my first thing is, wow, they're going to rape me in front of my daughter. They're going to rape her. And at the time, she was only maybe 6 or 7. And I'm like, I can't allow that to happen. So a car was coming down the street. But before I tell you about that car, a few months earlier, they told me my grandmother was about to die. And me being young, I was like, oh, my grandmother's about to die. Let me do something special for her. Let me go get baptized. So I went and got baptized because they told me my grandmother only had 6 months to live. So I went and got baptized earlier in that year. But my grandmother did not die. She chose to stay here a little longer, 2 more years longer. So only God, once again, could tell us when we're coming and when we're going. So I'm going back to that alley. After getting baptized, doing all that for my grandmother, he said, take her in the house. In the process of him saying, take her to that front door, so whoever comes to that door, you bum rush the door and you take everybody in the house. I thought that they were going to put a bullet in everybody's head. So before we got to that door, a car was coming down the street. He said, if you make a sound, you know what's going to happen. I looked at him. He was in arm's distance of me. I looked at him. I looked at the car. I chose to scream. I screamed. I felt I fell to the ground and played dead on my daughter. I felt something fall over on top of me, and I heard a clicking noise. Later on, I found out that he was trying to kill me. He ended up shooting me twice. He ended up shooting me in my left arm and my right thigh. The doctor said I would never use this arm again, ever. But I'm sitting here waving to you and praying hands to say I am using it again. So as we go and we live through these traumas and these depressions, no, all of us got a story. All of us got a testimony. It's what we do after what happens to us and
Yes.
where we choose to go. I chose to fight. I chose to be right here and fight. And
Mhm.
what I found out was that covering was nothing but God, because when I stood up, it was nothing there. It was nothing there. God covered me and stop somebody from taking my life. The clicking noise I heard in my ear was him saying what he meant. He said, I was going to kill you tonight. And he meant that. So what the clicking noise was the remaining bullets in the gun that he tried to take my life with. So when we talk about mental health, check on your people and know I chose to be a fighter. I chose to say, if my story can help someone, then I will tell it every time to help. So thank you.
You're welcome, sweetheart. This is powerful. And this is one of the reasons why, you know, when I started this show, Shwana, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea. I was trying to get away from my problems. I was trying to survive mental illness, from grief. I lost my daughter, my mother, my brother, my auntie. I lost so many people within a couple of years. I would say within 5 years, I lost like about 12 to 13 people. And it was back to back to back. But the thing that got me down was when I lost my daughter because I could not understand. I was angry with God. I could not understand why would you allow my daughter to die? And I started drinking and I became really self-destructive. Really. I would go a whole 7 minutes, I would drink that within a few minutes. And I'd ask God to help me. I want to die. So when I started that show, I would lay down on the floor and just ask God to let me die. I would be in a drunken stupor, not even being able to stand up, asking God to let me die because I don't want to live anymore. And when my mother died, and when my brother died, and everybody, I got. But you know what? When I started this, I said, Cindy, this is gonna be therapy for you. You don't know who you're gonna be able to help with your story, but you're gonna be able to help somebody. You can be able to save one life. If you can save one life, if you can help one person cope with what they're doing through your experiences, then you're gonna talk about it. I came on here and I was a hot mess. I was a hot mess. But to hear, and over the past couple of months, when I started March 17th with my show, I opened up the young lady that was there first. I mean, she was here, Lavon. She was my first guest on the show, and it was a mess. But I said, you know what, Cindy, start somewhere, and then go forward. And to hear with my 41 guests that I've had on the show, to hear their experiences, to hear their stories, it gives me hope and it gives me the confidence that what I am doing here, what we are doing, advocating for mental health, to help people tell their stories about what they've been through. It is a testimony to see how powerful people can be when they come together and work together for the betterment of each other. And I could, my story is not nowhere close to yours, but it's mine. Yours is yours. Evan's own is his, and Yolanda's own, powerful, is hers. But we rose from it all, and we are able to encourage and empower, motivate and inspire people like us, people who are left behind, people who wouldn't think that they're going through these things. And I thank you all. Where is my girl? Oh, she's right here. Sorry. Don't put your face on. And I'm over there talking. I thank you all for sharing your story, being in that space with me on Poetry and Perspective with Placid to tell our audience. You have people watching from Ghana, from the UK, from everywhere. And I just want to say thank you.
Yolanda, you keep putting your cash app in the private chat. You got to put it in the private.
I don't know where it is. Where
So
do you
give
put it?
let me have the cash app. Let me have the cash app information and I'll put it on there.
It's $
Mm-hmm.
cake mix 67. So that's capital CAKEMIX 67.
So, guys, I'm going to put it on there. This is to Yolanda has been through a lot, and we would appreciate it if you could
Thank you
just
so much.
donate something, help her, contribute something to
Proud
help
of
her
you,
because
Yolanda. Good
she
job,
is
baby.
going through a lot, and she has a long way to go because mental illness just does not go away. It does not go away.
Yes, Yolanda, I wanted to commend you because that I feel like that I'm just in awe right now. I mean, I'm thinking about my own. I was gonna chime in as well, and and also piggyback off of what Cindy was saying with her depression and stuff like that. Because I've actually, with my mental, I've actually attempted suicide twice, and I survived. And I was gonna attempt a third time, but it's so funny. I say funny not to be actually funny, but it's coincidence. It's crazy because I kept questioning why did I survive? Why did I survive? And I see, like, even just at this moment, I see that it's because you needed to tell your story. You need somebody, because nobody, we don't know who else is feeling that same way. You know,
Right. That's right.
there's people, I've had friends that have done it, and they didn't wake up. I woke up my two times.
Right.
I tried it when I was 16. I tried it when I was about 24, and I woke up both. I tried it with pills, and I woke up both times, and I just was angry at myself. I won't lie, I was angry at God, but now I look at it as that's because you're not the one that's supposed to take yourself out. Let God do that.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I do commend you as a man to be able to experience those things and to share your experience, because so many, like you said, men has always been told to suck it up. What you crying for? Men are not supposed to show emotions. And I said that you never tell a young boy, like even a baby as they grow up as a man child, you should never tell them, oh, don't cry, because when he becomes an adult and then he's in a relationship with a woman, he's not going to learn how to be able to be sympathetic and empathetic to a person's needs, because it's always, oh, you gonna be okay, oh, suck it up, what's wrong with you, you shouldn't be, you okay, instead of having some type of sympathy or empathy for a person. So
Yes.
Yes,
I
and then they
commend
carry,
you.
yeah, and they carry these things, and then until it gets to a point where they can't carry it anymore, and instead of speaking to somebody, they choose that way out of committing suicide or doing something else. So
Yes.
it is important that the men speak up. We need our men.
Right. Because I'm always on panels, different panels, and I always say we need men to be vulnerable enough to share what they
Mhm.
experience, because you guys have always been to, oh no, I'm not gonna share that. I'm not gonna say that because you don't want nobody. That's embarrassing for a man to say, oh, okay, this happened to me. Men go through domestic violence abuse as well. It's
Yes.
not just a woman's thing. It's not just a woman's issue. There are men being victims of domestic violence abuse and
Mhm.
victims of domestic violence physically abused as well. Not just, because
Mhm.
we always know that domestic violence does not start off physical. It's not just black eyes and bruises. It is a form of power and control.
Yes.
So yeah, I really commend you. Thank you for sharing your story. And
Yes.
Shawana, you have an amazing story. Sister, you talking about my story. You have been shot twice. Your story is very powerful. And for your baby to have to witness that, she's young, but it's still so traumatic. And for us to go through situations and still come out on the other side, that's nothing but God.
Redemption. It's
Redemption.
redemption.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because believe it or not, God was in that alley. My mom, it started with my mom hugging me. God was talking to me throughout the day. And somebody put in the chat discernment, because they were
Yes.
so close to me. They never got a major body part. They got my left arm and my right thigh. They never
Mhm.
got a major body part. So
Praise
Yes.
yes.
And yeah, I did it. Yeah, you'll see it in the chat. I'm gonna put it to try to slide by. Yes. Let me see. I showed it on the screen so that they could see it. Cake Mix 67 to help Yolanda Carter.
you.
And
Thank you so much.
guys, listen. Like Ivan, I tried to take my life 3 times, and that
Jesus.
last time there, it would have been. It's actually four, and the last time it would have gone through if it wasn't for my 13-year autistic son.
Mm. Wow. Yes.
I
Jesus.
took the whole vial of pills. I couldn't deal anymore. Too many things were happening. And as the show goes on, people who know me have heard a lot about my story, but so much more I haven't told people. And as the show goes on, you're gonna hear more of me. And I took a whole, I put it in my mouth, and he has such a, he stays in his room and he just busts out one big laughter, and he just, those laughter that contagious laughters.
Mhm.
And I just beat everything else, and I just went and I said, "What are you doing? You got a baby who needs you."
That's
And from
right.
that day on, I was on a mission to be better for myself first, for my children, and to help other people who are going through the same situations, the same the same problems. They can't speak up. They don't want to speak up. I alienated myself from everybody,
Wow.
Yes.
everybody,
Yeah,
because
nothing.
God forgot about me. So many things going on in my life. I can't cope. I lost my mom. I'm here with my children. So many things. And let me tell you, mental illness, emotional, it can be brought from emotional abuse, mental abuse, verbal abuse,
Yes.
physical abuse.
Yes.
From all of this physical abuse, it can come from anywhere, and this thing stays. So we supposed to be a voice for everybody who's going through something. And let me tell you, there are more of us out there. There are more Evans out there. There are more Yolandas. There are more Shwanas. There are more Cindy Platts out there.
Absolutely.
We
Yes.
just gotta we just gotta reach them.
You're absolutely right.
It
That's
takes a village, Cindy. It takes a
yeah.
village. We have to talk to
Yes.
each other. I know I got people on the line and I'm so hard on them and so protective. It's because I love them and I love from a different place than I don't
Mhm.
love the sweet little I love the hey, I'm coming hard for you. You know I got you.
Yes, you do, Shawana.
And
Yes,
that's
You
you
okay.
sure
do.
do.
Anybody
Yes.
know
I
me that
love
know.
Shawana.
You know, I argue with one of my cousins on this line, like shoot, but I got them and they know it. If I say it, I'm there. God kept me
Yes,
on this
you
earth
are.
for a reason. And when it's time for me to pass from 1970, that dash in the middle gonna mean something to a lot of people.
Yes, come
I'm
on,
gonna
Yes.
make it
Shawana.
mean
Come
something.
on.
Yes.
I make it mean something every day of my life. That dash in the middle, somebody know I touched somebody's life.
Yes.
Yes. Yes,
Guys,
So thank you for
absolutely.
giving me that platform. Thank you very much.
listen. I have been on this show for almost a year now, and I'm gonna tell you this. Tonight, I think we have touched more people than you would imagine. This show, I'm just looking at it from my other computer. It has been shared, let me tell you, 61 times.
Mm,
Mm.
it's a blessing.
Wow.
61 times. We have to continue to collaborate with each other to speak to other people. And we don't only have to do it on this platform. We got to do it personally because there are some people who cannot be reached for social media.
Right.
It's so important. Because the stigmas have been so for so long. What's done in the home stays in the home, so no one ever talks about what's going on because the embarrassing, the shame, or whatever the family go through. Oh no, we don't talk about that. But it's so important for us to really be transparent and enough to really, because it's not the person that we the ones that's going through this. It's bothering us. So I feel like when you talk about it, it releases some things and it helps. Because if
Yes.
you sit down here, it sets dormant in you, and then that's when you get angry, you get frustrated, you be sad. It's time to release that stuff up out of you. So
Hmm.
I know how important it is. That's why
Yes.
I don't mind sharing my story. I want somebody to hear my story because I know that there are so many Yolandas out here. There, like you said, there's so many Shawanas and so many of each and every one of us. And it's so hard for us to just turn a blind eye to situations, because a lot of times we sweep everything is always swept up under the rug. It's always a sweep up under the rug situation. And we need to stop that stigma. We need to stop that because somebody needs us.
Yep.
Somebody
Stop the
needs to hear
ridicule.
those stories.
Yeah.
I
Everybody,
wanna
honestly, everybody crazy. Everybody in this world is crazy. Everybody living
I
their own
wanna
destruction.
before we leave, I want to show some statistics of where did it go? Of a dry cough. I'm sorry. I want to show some statistics of mental, which is yeah. Let me see if I can get it on there first of statistics of mental health. Okay. I think I have it there. Let's put it on here. Now I'm always doing my research before the show. I'll be going crazy like a chicken, but I'll be doing it. Okay. So it says you are not alone. And look at the 12-month prevalence of common mental illness in adults. 1% up schizophrenia, 4% dual diagnosis, borderline personality, 19% of anxiety. And of any mental illness, everything has gone up. every single one of them has gone up. 1 in 25 US adults experience serious mental illness, and 17% of youth 6 to 17 years experience a mental health disorder.
Right.
These are some really staggering statistics.
I wish I could see it because I can't see it.
Oh,
I
you
wish
can't
I could
see?
see, but
Hold
I can't
on.
see it. But I can hear it. You know what you're saying? Because
Oh, okay. All right. It is very, very. I mean, this thing is not fun, and people just take it like it's nothing. It's not.
Cindy, I apologize for interrupting. Do you mind if Shauna says her last statement in regards to the younger generation before
Yeah,
we wrap?
definitely. Yeah, well, we're about to wrap up, so definitely.
Okay, here we're switching now. Come on, here you go.
Okay. Hi, I just wanted to say that if you are struggling, just reach out. There's always somebody who cares, even if it's not somebody in your direct family, if it's not your best friend, somebody cares, somebody wants you here, and your voice matters. You matter, and everyone is struggling, even though it doesn't look like it. Not everybody, a lot of people are able to hide what they are feeling. Just because
yeah,
you feel alone and the person next to you may be smiling happy, they may be feeling the same thing you are. So just remember,
that's
use
true.
your voice, talk about it. Don't be afraid to ask for help because you can make it out of that hard place. And there's so many people that are great ways to show you that you're able to make it out. That sadness does not last forever. Depression does not last forever. You can overcome
Yes,
it and you can live with it.
Yeah.
So,
you're right,
Yeah.
girl. You're so intelligent. I love you.
Yes, she sure is. What are your last words to us? I would say,
Okay, Shauna, did you have last words?
yeah, she did.
She said she had her last words. Evan,
Awesome.
could you unmute
Evan,
yourself and tell us your last words?
Evan.
My last words, I would say for the men out there, do not be ashamed to open up and say you're not okay. There's there's a billion 8 billion people on this planet. There's at least somebody that can understand where you're coming from, what's going on with you. And if you notice that there's something more than just a regular, I'm having a sad day, I'm having a bad day, and it feels worse, speak up. There's no problem with going to seek help. Let's get that stigma of, oh, I'm a man or I'm black, so we don't do therapy and we don't speak up or we don't. Let's destroy that and let's say no. I'm not okay. I will tell my family, my friends, hey, I'm not having a good day. I may not want to speak or I may not want to be around them, but I will at least acknowledge and say, hey, I'm not okay. Yes, I've been yes, I'm on my medicine, but it's not that, and that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay for a man to speak up and to feel. A lot of men they hold their feelings in, they hold in these emotions, like Cindy was saying earlier. That's why men do go down that route of, I don't even need to be here anymore, or they don't care, so why should I even do anything? And the ones that get conditioned to say that they're not going to express themselves are the ones that more than likely will take that action. So all I gotta say is just speak up, be open, and don't be ashamed, as especially as us men, because I grew up with it as well. So it's better to speak up and say something and have someone help you than to hold it all in yourself. That would be my piece there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yolanda, Yogi, do you have
Well,
any last words?
I do. I just want to say that due to the fact of being as a title, public figure, or celebrity status, or whatever you may call it, a lot of times we shy away from really being transparent and talking about our truth because of the judgment and fear of what somebody may say. And I struggle with that because a lot of times people, the outside looking in, they may look at me with a smile on my face. They may see me, oh, you look like you living good, high off the hog, or whatever the case may be. But then at the end of the day, they just don't understand what you really are going through. So I had to learn that, Yolanda, no matter what your title is, whatever, if you're not having a good day, be transparent. Be honest enough to say, you know what? Today I'm struggling. I'm having a bad day. And that was my whole problem with um being able to really be honest enough to really be telling people what I really feel on the inside, because I think that when it all happened, everybody see me as Yolanda, you're strong. Oh, you don't look like what you've been through. Oh, you share your story. And man, I couldn't have never imagined until they seen it on the news how bad everything was when they showed it on the news. But just looking at me, you can't tell that that really even happened to me just walking around with an eye patch. You would think that, oh, maybe my eye, I have cataracts or something was happening with my eye. Never knew that I, all the trauma that happened to me, I got a prosthetic now, but it's like nobody would ever know and ever could imagine that I've gone through something so heinous. I felt like I walked through the fire, but I don't smell like smoke.
No,
But I'm
you don't.
here.
No,
I'm here to tell the story and to help others. And that's my take. Thank you all, everybody
Beautiful,
who will
beautiful.
support me, who's sending me cash app. I appreciate it. Everyone. It is truly a struggle, but thank you so much. I really appreciate each and every one of you all.
You are most welcome.
And Cindy, I just have to say this to Yolanda. I try to, every time we speak, we are blessed, which means
Yes,
the innate ability to overcome adversity. We overcame that, Yolanda. We are
yes,
redeemers.
absolutely.
yes,
We are redeemers.
Yes,
yes,
we are.
indeed. Yes, indeed.
What are
Yes.
your last words?
Yes, Cindy. I just said it for all of us. Cindy, we are redeemers. Thank you for your story. We are
Yes,
blessed, which means the innate ability to overcome adversity. We overcame it to help others overcome theirs. So thank you again for allowing me on this platform. Thank you again
yes.
for allowing me to bring guests.
Thank you, Cindy.
You guys are most welcome. Listen, tonight I knew it was gonna go over 1 hour, so I didn't worry about it because I know sometimes my shows go way past 1 hour. But tonight we needed to say what we needed to say. We needed to reach a wider audience. We needed to do that. And beginning the year, I just want everybody to know, no matter what circumstances you are going through, no matter what life throws at you, no matter how burdensome you may feel with whatever traumas, whatever mental illness issues that you're going through, remember there is always help. There is always someone who's going through similar situation like you do and who can relate to you. Like I tell people, I may not know what you are going through, but I will understand. I can relate to what you are going through because I am walking that path with you. So if you need help, you can call one of us. And I want you to put your information in there where they can reach you guys because all of us are advocates for mental illness. Okay. So put your information on there so that people can reach you guys. And if you want to I'm gonna put it on the screen. And if you guys are looking for help, if you feel that you're gonna cope and you don't want to speak to a particular person, there are resources out there that can help people who are going through mental illness. And the first one I'm going to show on, let me see, you can call 788, which is a mental, it's called the suicide hotline because there are people who are committing suicide every single day due to mental illness. So if you need help, call 988. It's just like dialing 911. Call 988. Okay. And I'm going to put some resources on there on the screen so that you could, even if you're not the one who's going through it, but somebody else is going through it. And you can help that person, you can save a life. The we are in the work of saving lives, helping improve lives, helping people go and cope through their mental illness. Okay. And we are voice, like you said, Shwana, the voice for what? The
We
voice.
give a voice to the voiceless.
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm putting some numbers on the screen right here so we can, there you are, sweetheart. I'm putting some numbers on the screen. And if anybody else has anything to say before I say my last words.
No. Thank
Okay,
you.
hold on 1 second. Did you put your information on there for everybody to see?
Yeah.
I don't see it. Is it in private chat?
Wait a minute, what she say?
I speak fast, don't I? I said put your information on there. It don't have to be your number, but the place where they can reach you, so they can people can talk and get encouragement, empowerment from you guys.
Shawana, can you put it in?
Yes, I do it for Yolanda.
Okay,
Okay,
no
thank
problem.
Okay, Evan, don't forget to put your information in as well. Let me
Okay.
see. Oh, actually, Cindy, I remember I sent her your email. You actually have it. You're able to put it in. I
Hold on.
texted. I texted to you if it's possible. If not, it's Yolanda. Let me see. Double checking.
you. Yolanda Carter,
Yep.
67 at yahoo.com.
Let me see. Evan, can you type that in real quick? Evan. Okay, my Facebook is Evan. Let's see.
Mine is easier to reach me on Facebook.
Yeah, can you please text Yogi's information in? It's Yolanda Carter,
67 at
67 at yahoo.com, please.
Okay.
Okay. All right, guys. So a lot of people ask me, Cindy, why are you watching the news? I'll tell you why I'm watching the news. Because I'm always finding ways, I'm always finding resources for mental health. Because I advocate for mental illness. So I'm always finding resources. I'm always finding I'm looking for someone for autism, for dwarfism, how I can help people with domestic violence. I am always looking for resources to help people. So here, this is what I found. Where did I find it? Yeah, this is what I found. So y'all can call it help resources. So I am going to show it on the screen. So this is the mental health resources, 1-800-799-723. Hey, am I missing a number? Okay, I'm missing a number. And safe. And the other one is, what am I doing? 1-866-488-7386, 1-800-273-8255, and 1-800-662-4357 help. Guys, y'all can always go back to this broadcast of this live and see the information on there. Ladies, I'm gonna put this on there quickly for everybody to see. This is Laverne's Yolanda's email address, and you can go back to the chart. Thanks for the and this is Evans, okay, and this is Shwana's, okay. So y'all can always go back and look at it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
having us.
It was such a pleasure to be here and to be in the presence of such amazing, amazing people who have such amazing and inspiring stories. Now, I always say this on my show. We go through things every time, okay? And we could always decide, I am not going to do this. I'm not going to get up. I'm not going to, I'm just going to stay down. But we can't stay down because you have life to save, okay? And we may fail. The work we're doing is not easy. And we may fail many times before we can succeed in anything. But you know what I always say to people? Never ever let failure be your finality. There are no tap outs. If we give up, that's it for us. We failed ourselves and we failed everybody else we are trying to help. So until next time, look out for us on this show because I'm going to have Shwana and I are going to have a segment every single month to talk about mental illness and to bring different people, maybe health professionals to be able to speak and to tell, give us some advice. So look out for us because we are powerhouse. We coming now, people. So until next time, my beautiful, beautiful guest, let me see. I don't want to butcher nobody's name now.
You got Yolanda Carter, Shawana Thomas, Shauna, and Evan.
Hold
Sullivan.
on. Yes. Thank you, Shwana. Thank you, Eva. And thank you, Yolanda.
Bye,
Awesome,
everybody.
awesome night. I love you. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I love you. Have a good night.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
And
Thank
thank you
you.
to our
Bye.
wonderful viewers. We love you.
Love you. Bye.
Yeah. Now, you all don't need to get off. Let me see. You all don't need to get off because